Okay, I think this is a terrific question. And usually you did it in a very relaxed fashion, but a lot of times I get at people what's called lid lag. Lid lag means that your eyes are like this, you know. Dr. Rutledge, and it's some variation of, what about protein? And in America, we're like tense on protein. A lot of my patients are, what about protein? One, they're tense about vitamins, and we talked a little bit about vitamins. But the other thing is, you can see emails back and forth on my mailing list, people sharing access to vitamins. You know, hey, I found some good vitamins. Some Unjury. Have you seen that? There's Unjury is a good protein source, and it's powdered chicken.
Oh my goodness.
And they have other, you know, I use Mega Milk, and I use this, and they go back and forth. And one time, I found a shooter of protein. It had 30 grams of protein, and it was like, you know, kind of a hippie smoking dope. You know, oh man, where'd you get that shooter? You know, and so you go, oh yeah, I want to find out where you get that shooter of protein. You know, and so they feel very tense about protein. So I want to talk about it. And you ask if I think, if I remember correctly, and you correct me, what about Slim Fast? And what about Ensure? And why would you bring those up? Because they're protein drinks, right? Plus, what other great things they have in them besides protein? Vitamins, right? Because if we can't take them as a tablet, Dr. Rutledge, can I at least drink them? I know you're not allowed to take them as tablets anymore. But how about if I just drink them? Or what if I find, how about Total cereal? Isn't that perfect now because it's got all the vitamins in it? Okay, take a breath. This research now suggests lots of vitamins. Healthy food, yes. Okay, now, does Ensure remind you of a green salad? Does it remind you of celery? Green peppers, an apple, an orange? Nope. So the vitamins in there, I think, are going to be like the vitamins we just talked about, not so healthy. But you could say, not the vitamins, Dr. Rose, it's the protein. Okay. So in America, we know that all foods are created of basically three things. Okay? Carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Plus, we also know something else. Carbohydrates are bad. Fats are bad. We should just eat protein, right? All right, and so there are people who have come forward, like the Atkins diet, of these high protein type diets. Or even if you're not on a high protein diet, you want to stay away from carbs and stay away from fat, so that puts you back to eating protein, even if you're not on an Atkins type diet, right? And so then people start to get a little tense, you know. I was going to eat an apple today, but it doesn't have enough protein. And so I want to take you back for a second and encourage you to think about our mailing list of patients. On there are thousands of people that have either had the surgery or going to have the surgery, and you can, on a daily basis, kind of listen in. Pay attention, see what they say. Okay? And the idea there is, do you find a lot of my patients who are having trouble with low protein? Not really. We've had a couple. But I have, again, blood tests on thousands and thousands of my patients. So you could change your question and say, Dr. Rutledge, after mini gastric bypass, how many patients suffer from low protein? And it's well under 1%. So, do you want to spend your life after the MGB tensely worrying about protein? No. Now, I do like a little extra protein, and I'm going to come to that. But in general, first of all, what I would say is be relaxed. Don't be tense about eating extra protein. Some protein is good, and we're going to talk about which ones and things like that. But in general, probably much more important for your health is healthy food. Healthy food. Not tons of extra artificial protein. Healthy food first. So choice apple versus Ensure. Okay? If you're starving to death, if you're in trouble from my surgery, you're one of the under 1% where protein is critical and you might have to have surgery because you've had too much of a bypass, well, then protein becomes important, but that's very uncommon. The majority of my patients are healthy. And to stay healthy and avoid things, the best research that I can find doesn't say to eat tons of Slim Fast or live on Ensure or anything like that. It does not say to take handfuls of vitamins, although there's some supplements like creatine that I like. But what it does say is eat a healthy diet, and some extra protein is reasonable, okay? Now, protein. Where can we get it? Well, one is Slim Fast, Ensure, that's pretty easily available. Where is the protein that's in Slim Fast and Ensure? Where does it come from? If you look on the side of the box and read it, it's milk protein. Okay? And a can of Ensure compared to an equal cup of milk, which one do you think is much more expensive?
Ensure.
Ensure. Why? Because they've dissolved a vitamin tablet in there. Do you need that vitamin tablet?
No.
I'm sorry, I can't
No.
hear you. Right, we just said you don't need them. So they did some research and they looked at weightlifters. Okay? They looked at cyclists, Olympic cyclists. They looked at soccer players, and they gave them either specialized, expensive mixes of protein or a glass of milk. Or in one study, they gave them a bowl of cereal, which has a cup of milk and some cereal. Very expensive. Go to GNC and buy expensive protein supplements, right? Plus, have you ever mixed up some protein supplement? Have you made some protein supplement shake? Have you ever done that? It's kind of a hassle, isn't it? It's trouble to get it to dissolve. It sticks to the spoon. Getting it to wash off the glass and the spoon and the blender is a hassle and everything. So it's a lot of work. It's very expensive. And in these studies, a glass of milk was equal to these very expensive proteins. If you're an Olympic athlete, it might be a slight difference, but even then, basically a glass of milk is equivalent to those other things. So if you want to spend, like my house, we have too many $20 bills. They're just everywhere. So I need to spend extra $20 bills. So buying those expensive proteins, plus you could buy some expensive vitamins while you're there. Okay? That would get rid of a lot of those extra 20s that are around the house. But I don't think it's any value. So a glass of milk has a lot of protein and very similar to what's in Ensure and Slim Fast and stuff like that. You might say, ooh, I don't like the fat in milk. Well, that's called skim milk, which is still much cheaper and available everywhere, right? You can go into any grocery store. Finding Ensure and Slim Fast a little bit more difficult. Every 7-Eleven's got a glass of milk in there, right? Most of them have skim milk. Another problem with milk is and Slim Fast has this also, it has lactose in it, which sometimes can bother some people. So you might want to get milk that's lactose free. Or if you can't find that, you might keep some lactase tablets with you so that if you're stuck somewhere and you want a bowl of ice cream, you want an ice cream sandwich, you want a glass of milk, you can take some lactase so that the lactose doesn't upset your stomach and cause gas and cramps. So back to your question, is it okay to spend extra money for a Slim Fast or an Ensure? Yes, it is. But equivalent to that is much cheaper is a glass of skim milk. Plus, if you've ever mixed up those protein things from GNC, they're pretty messy, they're clumpy, and they're much more expensive. So what I would say, and this sounds very simplistic and it's different than what I used to say, so this is new research. For a good source of protein, have a glass of milk. And for most of my patients, that's going to be a skim milk or low-fat milk without the lactose. So that's the lactate or lactose-free milk. And that's a good source of protein. You can have that a couple of glasses a day and you'll be getting tons of protein. Much cheaper and much easier to get access to than Ensure and Slim Fast, which have a bunch of artificial vitamins added, back to our previous video, may actually be hurtful. And if you really want to do something good, have a handful of blueberries. Cut up and wash some strawberries. Have a banana. Have a spoonful of peanut butter or something else healthy that's kind of far from being over processed. Make sense? Okay. Did I say follow me on Twitter?